Alrighty, and we welcome into the studio Kathy Holman, Prairie Wife in Heels. Hey, yeah, let me turn on your microphone.
Yeah,
Maybe that'll help.
help.
Yeah.
Hey.
Otherwise, she'll have to do a door-to-door. Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you
Good
now.
morning.
So, I haven't seen you for a while.
I know it's been weeks and weeks.
I was gone, and then you were gone.
And then I was gone. Yep. And then we both were gone. But we are together again.
Here we are. And what we're talking about today is competition. Like, how competitive are you, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay.
And we've been having a couple of conversations here in the studio before we got started about some very interesting stuff. Do you want to lead it off, Kathy?
Okay, so let's start out by using this quote from Forbes.com, Nerd Alert. So the science of winning and losing says that 25% of people are unaffected by competition, 25% wilt in a competitive environment, and 50% of people benefit from competition. And then if you want to throw in there men and women, they are affected differently. Men tend to be overconfident. This just makes me laugh. Sorry. Men tend to be overconfident in their abilities.
Well, of course.
And less fearful of the risks. And women tend to be conservative about their chances of winning in a competitive environment and avoid it.
Right. And the rest of that is that people are just hardwired differently. You know, it's like some people thrive off of the stress and they do their best work when it's kind of high stakes. And some people just don't want any part of that. So you had me taking a quiz here.
I did. So I found a BuzzFeed quiz, which means it is completely accurate, right? BuzzFeed, I mean, come on, those are 100. So let me start out by saying that I do not think of myself as competitive at all.
Really?
I don't think that I'm a competitive person.
That's what I said.
So,
Really?
so I was discussing this with my husband, and I said, "Do you think I'm competitive?" And this is a direct quote, and he said, "Please use this quote." He said, "You're not passive aggressive. You're passive competitive. You compete. You just don't want anyone to know you're competing."
There you go. That's an interesting observation.
Well, and it's actually, the more I thought about it, the more I saw that was true. And according to BuzzFeed, I am 60% competitive. I can be pretty competitive. I always aim for the top and can be single-minded when it comes to winning. I like to be, if not the best, one of the best.
So, and here's my surprise from BuzzFeed. I mean, what would you have guessed?
I would have said that you're pretty, I think of you as pretty competitive. You've got your eye on the prize. You want to be successful and move forward. Yeah, I would say you were.
Well, I would have said so too, but apparently BuzzFeed doesn't think so. 38% competitive. Is that sure you like winning, but ultimately it doesn't matter that much to you? It's nice when it happens, but you won't exhaust yourself just so you could win something.
See, and I would have thought that was me. Like that's, and Roger, I'm just going to say, Roger, I sent you the link to this quiz on Facebook private messenger. So you could take it. So if you want to take that,
there it is.
Yeah.
Kathy message.
Yeah. So because I wanted to get you in on this. So I think it's very interesting, people's perception of if they're actually competitive or not, and how does that fuel what you do. I personally never participate in team sports ever because I am terrible at them. Like, I cannot catch a ball to save my soul. I have no depth perception, no peripheral vision. I'm terrible at it. So I refuse to participate in team sports. So I think of myself as not being competitive. But the reason I refuse is because I know I'm going to lose. And that's why I don't want to do it.
And you can kind of extrapolate that into, the rest of your life too. I'm very much the same way in that if I know it's something that I'm not good at, I probably won't participate in it because I know that I'm not good at it and that I'm not going to excel.
Yeah, and that's how I am. But what about trying new things? Where does that fear? I am totally fine with trying something new and falling flat on my face. But once I've fallen flat on my face, I'm not going to do it again.
I'm not. I have to force myself to try new things.
Really?
I get really stressed out about doing things that I'm not accustomed to, that I don't know how to do. But I force myself to do them anyway. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing things like riding around in hot air balloons or, some of the other crazy things we do.
I would never do that.
But,
I know that I would.
if you don't push yourself past that comfort zone, then you're not going to gain new experiences and new knowledge. And I think that's what a lot of folks talk about when they talk about competing with themselves. They may not compete with others, but they like to compete with themselves so that they can constantly stretch and learn.
So my thought about that, I also feel like I compete with myself. You know, I ran a half marathon last year because I said, okay, I can do 9 miles.
You're not sports-oriented.
Can I do that? Well, that's not a team sport thing. That's just me, you know, and then, okay, I want to do it in this time and everything. So that's competing with myself. But where did I get the concept of what a good time was? By looking online and seeing what other people my age are doing. So aren't you still being competitive, even though if it's with yourself, you have that idea based on what you saw someone else do?
Right. And on our Facebook page, Sean wrote, I tend to be very competitive. Both my wife and I see competition as a way to stretch ourselves and bring out the best in each other.
So Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich, which was written 100 years ago, referred to the competitive plane as a place of greed, impulse, and lack. The dark side of competition feeds on manipulation, profits over people, and degrading the physical environment. And I have to say, when I hear competition, my first thought is a negative thing. People cheating to get ahead, people focusing too much on that and not enjoying the process. But actually, healthy competition brings out our personal best. In addition to individual advancement, competition helps groups and companies to excel, to be creative and innovative, which we see in America. I think that's a lot of what makes America great is, you know, the monopolies that aren't allowed and things like that allow businesses to, you know, that competition, lower prices, new products, finding the next best thing.
And, you know, I've had that tossed at me before as an insult. You are very competitive.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with that? Or, you know, in conjunction with my husband and I, you guys compete with each other a lot. It's like, well, yeah, sure. I mean, it's the same thing. It kind of stretches ourselves.
You know what Kathy said? It is true. Having done a little PR in the auto industry, American automakers got pretty fat and happy. Until the foreign competition really heated up. It began with the Beetle back in the 60s. And then suddenly the Japanese got in on the game and so forth. And everybody, and I've had auto execs say this to me, everybody had to up their game. And what the consumer got out of it was a better car or a better truck. Whether it was domestic or foreign, you're probably not going to go too far wrong these days. People ask me, you know, what are the bad cars out there? There aren't any anymore because a bad car won't survive.
Yeah, and that's right. It makes competition can make the world a better place. And a lot of the breakthroughs are part of that competition. You know, we want to be, I mean, this is maybe not a positive example, but the arms race and the atom bomb and everything like that. I mean, that was a competition. Who can do it first? The race to the moon, push, push, push. Yeah, I know. Like I said, that might not be the most positive example. Roger, did you take your quiz yet? I'm dying
I did.
to know what'd you get?
I'm apparently 55% competitive.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Well, it says here, all right, their summary is you're a bit competitive. You love to win. Definitely have a competitive streak. However, you let go of losing pretty quickly. Don't try to make a competition out of things where it's not really needed. You know.
Do you agree with that? Do you think that's
pretty much? You know, if I lose, I don't like it, but I'm not going to sit and stew about it all day. I'll try to do better next time. You know. So,
I can see that. You seem like a pretty zen, even keel kind of guy. So I guess according to BuzzFeed, I'm the one to watch out for. I want Frank to take it. I think we need to know what Frank would get. I would say Frank is going to get 110%.
I just send it to Frank.
I didn't send it to Frank. I'm so sorry.
Bitter, sad loser.
Are you
That's why I feel like he would be 110%, and I say that with love. So my best friend, who is super competitive, admits it. She said, I'm not competitive as long as I'm winning.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I think a lot of people feel that way. And then Molly said, I used to be super competitive, but have mellowed out as I've gotten older. And I think what you were talking about, Roger, with that grace in losing is something that comes with age, whether it's because you realize there's more important things,
I think that's it,
or you've lost enough over and over and that you learn to just deal with it, that it's a part of life.
As the oldest guy here, let me tell you, you hit a certain point where you know you're not going to be Walter Cronkite, you know that, but you take great pride. I stay in contact, particularly on Facebook, with young journalists that I like to think I have mentored and nurtured, and I see them now working in nice size, you know, in Austin and Salt Lake City and moving into bigger markets. Makes me feel very good, you know, and they usually say, it all helped. It was good training and so forth. That is where I get a lot of gratification now.
Well, and a lot of the articles I read about competition said that along with competition, you need to have that cooperation aspect, that it's really the two of those together that is what creates a workplace where people are moving and growing. And in your personal life where you might be competing, hey, let's see who can run the fastest 5K, but yet you're working together. Let's keep each other accountable for going out and working out and things like that. And Roger, that's like what you were talking about. You're not competing with these guys. You're working with them to help them achieve a new level. And that makes everyone feel good. It's the quote, a flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just grows.
Well, I would have thought that several.
Nice.
That is good.
I
would have thought that several years ago, and then you hit a certain point where you realize, I'm kind of enjoying making them into a good reporter. So,
Well, and another aspect of this, and I know we're running a little short on time, so Roger, news might be a little late because I really want to get this in. Is,
I don't have anything important to say.
Yeah, Kathy and I were talking about before is that the tendency that we have seen for women to be very competitive with each other
in a snarky
and
way.
that's kind of how this conversation started.
Yeah.
We started with it, is there room at the top for everybody? But yes, in a snarky way. And I will tell you, I have worked in environments where it was only women. And instead of, in this particular one, which shall go unnamed, instead of lifting each other up, they were trying to drag each other down. There was sabotage, there was backstabbing, there was snarky talk,
and that's that dark side of competition
it
too.
It was like working at a junior high school. It was
and that's
which,
that whole there's more than enough room at the top thing. Like Susan said, that's kind of what started this competition. But the fact of the matter is I think women and men, like it said before, they deal with competition differently.
Yes, that's true.
Men, a lot of times it's all right, I'm going to work harder, and it's that more aggressive. Plus, let's be honest, men usually it's easier for them to feel comfortable talking about their achievements as opposed to women. I think this is a whole nother conversation.
Right.
I guess,
we're talking generally.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. I don't want to, stereotype or anything like that. I think it's hard for women to feel that there is enough room at the top. And I think that the way they deal with it is a less flattering way than men would, which would be very open about, I'm going for that position and I'm getting it. Whereas women, there's a lot of the
undermining.
Yes. And I think admitting that and acknowledging that about ourselves is a way for us to stop. I feel like there's more than enough room at the top. If you want to talk to me about starting a blog, I will give you all the resources I had. I've done lots of stuff on my blog about how other people can start it because I cheer for people. I was raised to believe there's enough sun for everybody.
Yes.
And that's why I guess I don't think of myself as competitive, is because I am willing to help other people achieve what they want to achieve, even if it's the same thing I'm trying to do.
Right. We need to support each other.
Yeah, but first we have to acknowledge there's a problem.
Right.
I have to say, although as a guy, I've never experienced it, but as the father of a daughter, particularly through her earlier school years, there's a reason Tina Fey wrote Mean Girls. I mean, it got pretty nasty.
Right? And why?
Along the way.
Why? Is it estrogen?
I don't know.
Is it seriously?
She's pretty and funny and talented and got treated miserably in some cases. And I don't get it.
Yeah. See, I think that needs to be our next topic, I think.
Okay, there you go.
Is the mean girls, do they turn into mean women?
Don't know yet.
And guys, why don't you act like that?
We go fight it out behind the gym,
I think maybe it's just her testosterone, whatever that word is.
Testosterone.
Apparently, I'm done. My 15 minutes of talking fluidly is over.
All right. Thanks, Kathy. Kathy Holman, Prairie Wife in Heels. Always a pleasure, lady.